Test.
Senate will come to order. Senate, this will be the first time we call the roll without the senator from 38, Senator Bud Estes. So I'd like you to rise and we will observe a moment of silence as we pray for his family. Please rise for a moment of silence. Clerk will call the roll.
Alley, Baumgardner, Billinger, Bowers, Clays, Corson, Dietrich, Dahl, Erickson, Bagg, Valscadeau, Francisco, Gossage, Haley, Hawk, Hildebrand, Holland, Holscher, Kirshen, Cluse, Longbine, Masterson, McGinn, Olson, O'Shea, Peck, Peterson, Petty, Pittman, Pyle, Steffen, Straub, Sullentrop, Sykes, Thompson, Tyson, Ware, Warren, Wilborn.
Senators and your guests, please rise and give prayerful attention to the chaplain.
Please join with me in prayer. Heavenly Father, as your servants, we are gathering again today to be used by you in the service of your people. But in the process, Lord, we find that you have pulled one from our midst. When the roll is called in this place, our brother, Bud Estes, won't be answering, because you have called that faithful servant home to be with you. When it comes to people of faith, your word says in 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verses 1 through 11, we're absent from the body, but present with the Lord. When we die and leave this earthly body, we will have an eternal body made for us by you and not by any human devices. And while we grow weary in these present bodies that are dying, we look forward to putting on new incorruptible bodies that will never die. And as a guarantee to Bud and to all who have faith in you, you've given us your Holy Spirit to settle and confirm our faith. So, Lord, while we're here, dwelling in these bodies, remind us that our ultimate goal is to be pleasing you. So remind us of the awesome responsibility that we have, for we must all face you one day to receive whatever we deserve. And along with Bud and so many of the faithful, we want to hear from you the words in Matthew chapter 25, verse 21, good and faithful servant, well done. Lord, let the confidence expressed in these lyrics reflect our faith. When the saved diverse shall gather over on the other shore, and the roll is called up yonder, I'll be there. Please comfort Bud's wife, Renee, his family, and those of us who are missing his presence. Lord, I come to you in the precious name of Jesus. Amen and amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As a follow-up note, the services for Bud are Monday, this coming Monday. In Buckland, Kansas, we are not going to do business in the Senate. It will be up to each of you whether or not you allow your OA or your CAs on Monday to come in. If they need to come in and catch up on some work, or if they'd like to go attend, and if you are, normally each senator has their own, but if you're in a group that is sharing, just make sure it's a consensus amongst the other senators to direct your OAs and your CAs for Monday. Introduction of bills and concurrent resolutions, the clerk will read.
Senate Bill 259 by Committee on Ways and Means, an act concerning workers' compensation. Senate Bill 260 by Committee on Ways and Means, an act concerning political advertising.
This constitutes introduction of SB 259 through SB 260. Please note references of bills on page 1 through 3 of the calendar. Looks like we have a point of personal privilege. Chair recognizes Senator from Montgomery, Senator Peck.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today, America lost one of the great ones. At the age of 70, Russ Limbaugh lost his battle with lung cancer. The thoughts and prayers of many go out to his wife, Catherine, his brother, David, and the rest of Rush's family. Rush launched a national radio show in August of 1988, the month that I turned 29 years of age. His radio program not only saved many AM stations, but it gave a voice to freedom-loving Americans all across the United States. Many who listened to Rush in the early days immediately became ditto heads. And businesses, primarily restaurants, in many locations set aside Rush rooms where fans could enjoy a meal and listen to Rush's show. Millions of conservatives daily attended the Limbaugh Institute for Advanced Conservative Studies. I was one of those. Rush inspired many ordinary Americans to get involved in local issues, local politics, state and federal politics by running for office. I was one of those whom Rush inspired to become involved. In April of 1991, I was elected to my local school board. At that time, I was 31 years of age, and I had no idea or aspiration of becoming a state senator. But here I am. A year ago this month, on February the 4th, 2020, President Trump honored Mr. Limbaugh when he bestowed on him the highest civilian honor, the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Rush and his talent will be missed. However, Rush frequently said he had talent on loan from God. Today, February 17th, 2021, God asked for Rush to give back that talent, and I have to wonder, who will he choose to give it to next? Rest in peace, Mr. Limbaugh. Rest in peace. Thank you, Mr. President.
Before we recess, are there announcements? Senator from Sedgwick, Senator Fauskido.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just had to stand, and I don't know if his family is listening, but I extend sincere condolences to Senator Butt, as is his family. I sat beside him as the ranking member on the Senate Federal and State Affairs Committee for many years, and also on the roll call here on the Senate floor, it was Estes and Fauskido. And so I'm going to miss hearing his name and reminding me that it's my turn to respond to roll call. So he was a good man, and he was, as the ranking member, he was always considerate and fair to the Democrats on the committee, and he will be deeply missed. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator from Douglas, Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would echo those thoughts from the senator from Sedgwick. I had many good conversations with Senator Estes about preserving Amtrak and my joy in visiting his community. But I am rising to just say that upon recess, the Senate Democrats will caucus in our regular room 287 North to discuss the bills on general orders and on the consent calendar.
Senator from Sedgwick, Senator Solentrout.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Republicans will caucus in our usual room on 5th floor, 548 South. I move the Senate recess to the sound of the gavel.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The Senate is recessed.
The Senate will come to order. The chair recognizes the senator from Cali, Senator Alley.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. I move the Senate resolve itself into a committee of the whole for consideration of bills on the calendar under the heading of general orders.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. The chair appoints the senator from Cloud, Senator Bowers, to preside over the committee of the whole.
Good afternoon. The Senate, having resolved itself into the Committee of the Whole, will now consider those items listed on the calendar under the heading of General Orders. We'll now turn our attention to SB 52. The chair recognizes the senator from Sedgwick, Senator McGinn, to explain the bill and to adopt the committee report.
I move adoption of the committee report.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. Motion carries. You may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And before I explain the bill by section, I just want to give an overview that this bill was brought to us last year by Sedgwick County. It made it through the process. It made it across this floor 30-7. It died because it went to the House, and then COVID, of course, hit. And it seems like we hear that on at least every other bill. But that's what happened. So this bill was brought back to us and brought to local government. And we spent 4 days on this bill, 4 different days working through this bill to make sure we respect private property rights. And this bill came about because Sedgwick County has pockets of areas that are surrounded by communities, and they have about 20 communities. And these pockets end up, they're either a little pop-up unincorporated area, or they are a just area that's had right-of-way from railroad and that kind of thing. Doesn't really produce a lot of tax base, but they have not been able to do anything about it. Keep in mind, the municipalities have the right to do this. So this bill starts with Section 1. Section 1 of the bill defines what an urban area is. And that urban area is defined in our Constitution, and it was done a long time ago, back in 1963, to only include Sedgwick and Johnson County. And so what it does, it defines the urban area, and then it also talks about before this process can move forward, the county would have had to obtain a conviction on this property within the previous 24 months. And then also Section 1 of the bill talks about how the BOCC, Board of County Commissioners, can move through with the process. Section 2 of the bill has to do with notification and timeline. Landowner can also, during this time, if they've been served, they can request a hearing. If the proper owner fails to effectuate the receipt of that the county had sent them a notice, they can do other things such as door hangers and posting on the property. So also if the landowner, after all that is done, if the landowner fails to comply, then they can begin the proceedings. If the cost, if the cost is not paid within 60 days, the clerk can extend it onto the tax roll. And also, if the cost of the property is greater than the cost of removal, the county must reimburse for the difference. Section 3 of the bill deals with vehicles. Generally, these are vehicles that have burned or something, and they're just more of a nuisance, or not just as necessarily a nuisance, a safety hazard for children. And then Section 4 of the bill talks about how the Board of County Commissioners can develop a resolution to establish the policies related to the hearing. Section 5 of the bill is another added feature of this bill that adds a definition of agricultural property or lands so that they are excluded in this. And then Section 6 of the bill has to do with a sunset. We put a 3-year sunset on this, so all of you will have the opportunity to have a second chance at this if we find out that Sedgwick or Johnson County is abusing this. And so we'll get to see what kind of work that they have done. This bill had no opposition. I want to thank the senator from Johnson, Senator Warren, who brought more due process language to this bill. So there's lots of hurdles and opportunities for that landowner to make it right. So it's not just you got served and you have to deal with it. There's many processes for them to go through, and that gives them the due process. Passed out of committee unanimously, and with that, I'll stand for questions.
Are there questions from the senator from Sedgwick? Senator from Douglas, Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't have any questions. I'm just standing in support of this bill and appreciate the work of our committee chair and committee members. I think it has some additions that make it better than the bill we saw last year, and I recommend passage.
Any additional questions? Senator from Wyandotte, Senator Haley.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. I think I'm going to support the bill too. It was a little tenuous before the committee where we were. I did have a question though for the senator from Sedgwick regarding it, if she would stand for it.
Yes, she's standing.
Okay. Madam Chair and Senator from Sedgwick, this is a county-specific bill now for Sedgwick County. And by the way, Madam Chair, I certainly am relieved that we'll have an opportunity to revisit this with the amended language that Senator from Sedgwick, Senator McGinn, mentioned, that we'll get another bite at the apple to evaluate how the abatement of nuisance properties are settled within our term. But my question, Madam Chair, is this is a county-specific bill for Sedgwick County. I understood that there was some legislation in 2012 that would not let the County Commission of Sedgwick County resolve its own problems, so that we are having to enact statewide or legislation that could have statewide implications. Could the senator from Sedgwick remind the body why we, the state, are attempting to address an issue that only Sedgwick County needs addressed?
Senator from Sedgwick, Senator McGinn.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I appreciate the question. This came to us by one of the county commissioners, Commissioner Howe, in his testimony. In 2012, the Kansas Court of Appeals held that counties lack the statutory authority to utilize self-help powers to abate nuisances.
Senator from Wyandotte, Senator Haley.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. I am appreciative of the response. I would frankly have some concerns if this legislation were to be applied beyond Sedgwick County, as made representation, that if somebody wanted to piggyback, or one of the counties, another county wanted to use it as a precedent. But with that assurance, and knowing that we'll be able to revisit with the sunset in 3 years to ensure that we've kept this concern in Sedgwick County, who's asked for it specifically, then I support the bill, Madam Chair, and thank the senator from Sedgwick for the response regarding the 2012 legislation.
Madam Chair, may I respond?
Yes, Senator from Sedgwick.
Thank you, and I appreciate the questions from the senator from Wyandotte. It's, again, urban areas are designated under KSA 1925-54, and it's permitted by the Section 17, Article 2 of the Constitution. So urban areas are defined by Constitution, so I don't believe any unless we went through a constitutional amendment, other counties can be defined by that term.
Any other questions for the senator? Seeing none, you may close.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that when the committee rises to report, that it report Senate Bill 52 favorably for passage.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. Motion carries. We'll now turn our attention to Senate Bill 60. The chair recognizes Senator from Johnson, Senator Warren, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 60 comes to us from the Office of the Attorney General, and it's a bill that will help Kansas prosecute those out-of-state bad actors who have been filing fraudulent unemployment claims here in Kansas, stealing the identity of Kansas residents. So what Senate bill does is it puts into the criminal code what's called proximate result jurisdiction. Right now, Kansas doesn't have the authority in our criminal statute to prosecute if you're a bad actor in a state that's not Kansas and you cause harm to a victim here in Kansas, because our statutes don't specifically in each criminal statute defining fraud or theft, things like that, because it doesn't specifically provide for proximate result jurisdiction, Kansas doesn't have any ability to go after those bad actors out of state who have caused harm here in Kansas. Senate Bill 60 simply does that. It is in response to a statement by some finding in law from last year, and it's pretty straightforward. So with that, I'll stand for questions.
Are there questions from the senator from Johnson, Senator Warren? Chair recognizes Senator from Wyandotte, Senator Haley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm the ranking member on Judiciary and rise in support of the underlying bill. It was very well vetted. I think the senator from Johnson, the chair of Judiciary, Senator Warren, has explained why we need to have the bill. It's a respect that we expect other people to have in other states for our laws and to give us the jurisdiction to go after those bad actors who may commit a crime or who may have it overlap in our state, Madam Chair. One of the concerns I've had for a long time, Madam Chair, and is that we have showing a lack of respect in our state for the laws of surrounding states ourselves. And if we are going to be consistent with, I think is the intent of Senate Bill 60, we should consider that the laws in other states are being disrespected in ours when it comes to simple possession of marijuana. Many states, in fact, every state around us, Madam Chair, has some form of legal possession of marijuana, yet time and again in your county and in mine, those who may legally possess because it was purchased for some reason in another state lawfully, but the possession was found in Kansas, even when they're not Kansas residents but are passing through, they can be held and are being held, ticketed and fined for the possession of legal substance in another state. So, Madam Chair, I would hope that we would show, it's called comity, C-O-M-I-T-Y, or that is a respect between states for the laws that are legal when it comes to simple possession of marijuana for those out-of-state residents who may have purchased marijuana legally but are driving through our state. And so with that, Madam Chair, I've turned in an amendment, reviser 1280.
You have turned in your amendment, Senator.
Yes, ma'am, I have.
And what is the number one more time?
It's revisor number 1280, 1280.
And would you like to explain your amendment or have it read?
I'll explain it. It's very simple, Madam Chair.
Let's give the
Okay.
folks a few minutes to get up here and get their amendment. All right, you may proceed.
Very simply, Madam Chair, as I said, that if someone possesses marijuana and they can show that they acquired it in another state in conformity with the laws of the state, and that that person who's possessing that marijuana is not a resident of Kansas, in other words, they're passing through, they're only in this state temporarily, may have stopped at the truck stop to fill up gas or whatever. If they're just here temporarily, that they would not be charged with a crime of possessing marijuana because it's legal, where they bought it legally somewhere else. Madam Chair, we ask people to respect our gun laws, our concealed carry laws, which are pretty lenient if you look at what other surrounding states want, and the AG weighed in on that. We expect other states to respect our laws pertaining to, certainly the gun law is the one that stands out in my mind. And this amendment would say our expectation, or the expectation that we will respect the laws of other states when it comes to simple possession of those who are passing through our state who've legally acquired the marijuana elsewhere. And finally, should say every other state around us, we're number 46 in the country, but every other state around us allows some form of legal possession of marijuana. And so it's difficult if people are coming through, you know, from one side of Kansas to the other, where they really are not committing any law, any violation of any law, that they would be stopped by law enforcement, heavy fines and penalties. So that's essentially what it does. I'd be happy to stand for any questions.
Are there questions for the senator from Wyandotte? Senator Warren, Senator from Johnson, Senator Warren.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I understand the concern, the intent of the amendment, and comity, C-O-M-I-T-Y, between the states, and that concept in law. However, the amendment does the exact opposite of what Senate Bill 60 does. Senate Bill 60 allows prosecution of crimes here in Kansas, and the proposed amendment would prohibit prosecution of crimes here in Kansas. And in fact, I think the amendment would provide, if not an affirmative defense, but an escape from prosecution, if you will. So it's the exact opposite of what's intended by Senate Bill 60. The amendment was brought up in committee. It was challenged on germaneness. It was ruled to be not germane, so I would question the germaneness here as well.
So we have a germaneness question if the Rules Committee were to convene. And an announcement, the senator from Cherokee, Senator Hildebrand, is replacing the senator from Sedgwick on the Rules Committee.
The Rules Committee rules the amendment non-germane. First of all, the amendment is longer than the bill. Secondly, it does just the opposite, as the chairman indicated. The underlying bill allows prosecution of wrongdoers, bad actors out of state that have broken the law in state. This just does the opposite. And also there's an additional chapter challenge, and so there's a number of reasons to rule this non-germane. Thank you.
Senator from Wyandotte, Senator Haley.
That was close, Madam Chair. No, we miss him too. Madam Chair, I'm not going to challenge the ruling of the chair, the vice president ruling, or the chair of the judiciary, but I'm glad we have an opportunity to think about this subject, which many of our jurisdictions are employing. This is a single subject, though, again, and the subject is the respect for laws between the states. That's the underlying bill, Senate Bill 60, again, which I heartily support, and it would have been for the amendment, which I hope we will consider at some point subsequent, whether those who legally possess marijuana from another state should be respected when passing through Kansas. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Are there additional questions for Senator from Johnson, Senator Warren? Seeing none, you may close.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With that, then, I move that when the committee rises and reports, it reports Senate Bill 60 favorably for passage.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. We'll now turn our attention to Senate Bill 85. The chair recognizes Senator from Cherokee, Senator Hildebrand, to explain the bill and to adopt the committee report.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and we did amend the bill in committee, so I move that we adopt the committee report.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. You may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 85 is just a reporting piece for missing children in Kansas, foster care kids in Kansas. This would require any contractor that is contracted with DCF to report within 24 hours a child in their custody that is missing. It also adds a reporting requirement for kids that are sleeping overnight in a facility other than a foster care facility that is licensed for a foster care facility. This would require the contractor to notify DCF within 24 hours. DCF then would be required to prepare an annual report to the legislature summarizing the data, outcomes, and trends. If a contractor does not comply with this, the bill would also require DCF to assess a $500 fine against any contractor for each day that the contractor fails to report. And with that, I will stand for questions.
Are there questions for the Senator from Cherokee, Senator Hildebrand? Senator from Leavenworth, Senator Pittman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, this is an interesting bill. I think it's good. We need to make sure we have visibility into challenges in our foster care system. I do have one question for the maker of the carrier of the bill.
You may proceed.
Okay. The one thing that stood out was the newspaper notification on every single incident. And I was just wondering, is there any other, does the carrier know, and maybe he doesn't, if this is the first time, besides, say, real estate notices and these types of things, that we're actually mandating a reporting requirement to the press on an incident-by-incident basis?
Senator from Cherokee, Senator Hildebrand.
My knowledge is only pertains to what's inside this bill. I apologize.
Senator from Leavenworth, Senator Pittman.
No problem. I just, I find that it could be onerous. We don't know if we haven't seen this happen before. I'm interested in seeing how this works out, having every single incident, and hopefully there are 0 incidents of this. but of these incidents being reported out to the press within 24 hours on each incident, it does give me pause, but I think the underlying bill, the intent is good here. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator from Johnson, Senator Sykes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have a couple of questions.
Yes, you may proceed.
So the first one, I saw that Johnson County Sheriff's Office was in opposition to this bill, and they were concerned that the mandate and the reporting of this they were afraid that it would supersede the DCF policy, which is requiring that law enforcement be notified within 2 hours. Has that been taken care of in the bill?
Senator from Cherokee, Senator Hildebrand.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We did not address anything about a statute superseding a policy or regulation because a statute does trump a statute or regulation. DCF doesn't have to not report to a sheriff's department, so we decided that that was not something that we would change because DCF is already going to do that.
Senator from Johnson, Senator Sykes.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. I am a little concerned that now, because of the statute, we could be limiting that notification by another 22 hours, and that could be the life and death of a child. But I will go on to my other question, and it has to do with the notifying of the newspaper. Were there precautions put in that no child-specific information would be sent to the newspaper?
Senator from Cherokee, Senator Hildebrand.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I would just point the questioner to page 1 at the bottom of subsection B2A, the age and sex of the child, the location where the child went missing, if a different placement was previously determined to be more appropriate, and any other information required by the Kansas Department of Children and Families, that would be the only information that can be included in any type of reporting.
Okay, thank you.
Senator from Johnson, Senator Sykes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess I do have a little bit of concern there. I mean, wanting to make sure our children are properly cared for. But I think there is some concern with proper confidentiality. This would probably not be an issue in my county because of the large number, but I think this could be very easy in some of our smaller counties because of that information that it could be deemed child-specific. But thank you. Hopefully we can get these clarified elsewhere.
Senator from Miami, Senator Brumgarner.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I rise in support of this bill, and I think I could shed some light on a couple of the issues that were raised. First of all, keep in mind that any of our school districts, municipalities, whenever they have a meeting, they must report to they must have that submitted to the paper of record. And that's actually where the idea came for that publication. You know, 2 years ago when we had a hearing on this bill, it was a bill that I introduced, and it was specifically to address the issue of we knew kids were missing from foster care, that it wasn't being reported by foster parents or by the contractors to DCF, and it certainly wasn't being reported to law enforcement to go help and find these children. In fact, we knew, and I think many of you are familiar, that we had 3 young girls in Tonganoxie that were missing for several months before it was ever reported to DCF, to law enforcement, to the public to let us know that 3 young girls were actually missing that should have been in a foster care home. We also know that we've had tremendous problems with children. In fact, there was a class action lawsuit that was filed and was won against DCF because we had children that were spending nights not only in offices, but what we learned from the class action lawsuit is that children that are wards of the state, and I would argue they are our most vulnerable children. They are our most vulnerable children They have been taken from their home. They're put in the hands of the agency, the state of Kansas, and they were spending the night in cars and in hotel rooms, and none of that was being reported. In fact, last year, when DCF came and testified, and when those contractors came and testified to the Public Health Committee, I asked them point blank, how many kids this last month have spent the night in an office? Oh, I didn't realize I was supposed to ask how many spent the night in a car or how many spent the night in a hotel, and we were told none. But what the interim committee, foster care oversight, learned this summer and in the fall is that DCF is now quite proud that they finally reduced the average to 16 nights that kids are staying in a hotel room, an office, or in a car. So every step of the way, this legislature, as well as our specific committees, have been misled, not only by DCF, but by those organizations that have contracted with DCF to care for and to place our children in appropriately certified and overseen foster homes. So we need this bill. We needed it 3 years ago. We needed it 2 years ago. We needed it last year. We need it now so that we know exactly what's going on. And I can assure this body that in some counties and in some communities, having it published that a foster child is missing is going to be the first time law enforcement finds out that they have foster kids in their jurisdiction missing. So it's incumbent on us to provide that oversight and that assurance that we know what is happening in DCF with our foster kids. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator from Sedgwick, Senator Fasquedo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If the gentlelady from Miami would stand for a question. So I rise in support of the legislation, Madam Chair, and over the years, I've introduced legislation to help address these issues also. This year, Senate Bill 12, performance-based contracting legislation, and to hold contractors accountable. And served on the special foster care committee with the gentlelady there from Miami as well. So, but my specific question is, so in the reporting, so the foster care case management contractor would report to DCF. Would that be, Madam Chair, would a special 800 number be set up? I know sometimes over the past, when we have children that run away, runners is what we've decided to call them, from a foster home, sometimes when the police find them, they do try to call a DCF worker or contractor, and they are unsuccessful. And so at one time, we talked about creating an 800 number for anyone to be able to call that number and make that report. So just trying to get the understanding of the logistics of the legislation, Senate Bill 85, and if the gentlelady, she and I have worked on these issues together, or if the carrier of the bill, the gentleman from Cherokee, could respond. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator from Miami, Senator Rumgardner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, the senator from Sedgwick and I have served on many interim committees with regard to foster care, and I appreciate that we have fought the fight together. With regard to contact information, the foster parent is immediately to contact the caseworker for that child. If that doesn't work, then they are to contact the particular, be it St. Francis or be whichever of the contracting groups that foster child is from. And as always, there is the hotline that is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with regard to concern about any child, whether they're in foster care or not, that might be missing or might be at risk. So there is, foster parents are provided with a series of contacts, but that first contact is the individual that placed them or is assigned to that child. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator from Cherokee, Senator Hildebrand, would you have any comments?
No, I just concur with the good senator from Miami.
Are there additional questions for the senator from Cherokee, Senator Hildebrand? Seeing none, you may close.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The whole goal and the whole premise besides Senate Bill 85 is we have a problem with our foster care kids missing. We currently, I looked for yesterday, we currently have 62 missing foster kids in the state of Kansas. That number has been up as high as 100. 60% of children that are in sex trafficking or that are sex trafficking victims come from foster care. There were a couple of concerns about the newspaper that you heard. Well, that might be able to identify somebody. Well, I think that's why we want it in the newspaper. We want to find these people. We want to find these kids that are vulnerable and try to find them before they end up a victim of sex trafficking. That is the goal that we have. That's the goal we all should have. And I personally, if anybody tries to amend that somewhere down the road, I will fight it, because our primary goal is to take care and to fight for our most vulnerable kids, and them ending up as a sex trafficking, working for somebody is not the responsibility of the legislator to see that happen. We're supposed to try to do everything we can do to stop that. One of the things, I served on the Foster Care Oversight Committee, and one of the things that we had heard was, when we were talking about these things, one of the organizations that contracts with DCF was talking about, oh, all these things are really good, this is what's happening, these are our outcomes that we have. Lo and behold, I think it was maybe a month after our last meeting, we find out that that very same contractor made the news. As a legislator sitting on that committee, you know how I found out about it? A reporter. I found out from a reporter that a child was taken to a town, and in the process of going from one town to the other, the worker stops at a hotel room. They get a hotel room, and guess what that hotel or that contractor did to that child? This is why we do this. This is why this is important. It is for our kids. And with that, Madam Chair, I close.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Oh, I'm sorry, Senator from Cherokee.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, I forgot a step. I move that when the committee rises and reports, it reports Senate Bill 85 favorably for passage. Thank you.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. Motion carries. We'll now turn our attention to Senate Bill 88. The chair recognizes the senator from Sedgwick, Senator McGinn, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Senate Bill 88 has to do with vacation of properties by municipalities. There's two parts. One has to do with the landowners' protections, and the other has to do with the city. I thought it might be better than just explaining the bill is to explain a little bit of the background. The bill was introduced last year as House Bill 2583, and of course it's another victim of COVID-19. But it's to clean up the statutory language to make it easier for local officials and citizens to understand the process of the street vacation. The procedures used by the cities to vacate the properties have been largely unchanged and have worked for 100 years. So in addition to the procedures used, the governing body would also like to vacate a street. The legislation established a separate procedure for when a citizen requests that a street be vacated. So in 1967, there was a statute that was designated solely for the citizens requesting the street be vacated, and the legislature ended up adding some language to imply the governing body could also use the statute if the governing body wanted to vacate the street. So in 1984, then the legislature added some more confusing language and as a vehicle for the city governing body that could use when they would like to initiate the de-annexation. So after 53 years, they decided to clean up this bill. So that's what they're doing right now, and that's why you'll see on the bill there's a lot of lined out language as they're basically cleaning it up, but it's just two parts of the bill. It's the procedures for the municipalities to do a vacation of property, and the second is to protect the landowner's right if they have any problems by a vacation that has certainly harmed them. And then also the land will go back onto the tax rolls. So with that, Madam Chair, I stand for questions.
Are there questions for the senator from Sedgwick? Senator McGinn. Seeing none, you may close.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that when the committee rises to report, it reports Senate Bill 88 favorably for passage.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. We now turn our attention to Senate Bill 103. The chair recognizes Senator from Johnson, Senator Warren, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Like the previous bill, this bill does a little bit of cleanup. It's amending the Kansas Power of Attorney Act. Again, it's pretty straightforward, and it provides some protections for those third persons who engage in transactions relying on a power of attorney presented to them. Section 1 clarifies that the bill only applies prospectively. It would only apply to powers of attorneys executed on or after July 1st of 2021. And Section 2 then talks about the Kansas Judicial Council, who brought us this bill, is going to create a form that if you have a power of attorney that's in substantial compliance or actually uses the form, you will be presumed to be a genuine power of attorney that you have presented to the third party who's intended to rely on it. The bill also creates some protection for the third person as well. The third party may request and rely upon a certification by the attorney, in fact, that, hey, this is, as I said it is, it's the power of attorney from the person executing it, and I'm stating that to you, I'm certifying that to you under penalty of perjury. It also allows the third-party actor to request and rely upon an opinion of counsel. Hey, is this power of attorney that's presented to me, is this genuine? Is this in compliance? Can I rely on it because it's in compliance with what the Kansas Judicial Council form requires? The statute also provides, the bill also provides that a third person is required to accept the power of attorney unless, and those factors are listed in Section G on page 5 of the bill. If a third person refuses to accept a properly executed power of attorney, the person who's presenting the power of attorney may seek a court order requiring the third party to accept the power of attorney. And if there were attorney's fees created in order to get that court order, the party refusing to accept the genuine power of attorney can be required to pay those attorney's fees. So I think it does a nice job of providing some protections for those who want to rely on powers of attorneys. And with that, Madam Chair, I'll stand for questions.
Are there questions for the senator from Johnson, Senator Warren? Seeing none, you may close.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Like I've said, it does a nice job of amending the Power of Attorney Act to clean it up for those who wish to use powers of attorneys and those who are expected to rely on them. So with that, Madam Chair, I move that when the committee rises and reports, it reports Senate Bill 103 favorably for passage.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. Motion carried. We now turn our attention to Senate Bill 107. The chair recognizes Senator from Johnson, Senator Warren, again.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sounding like a broken record here, this is another bill that updates our statutes. This one from 1997. It is another bill from the Kansas Judicial Council, and it would enact the Uniform Fiduciary Income and Principal Act. And it would, to update the statutes, it would repeal the Uniform Principal and Income Act. I don't practice law in the areas of trusts, so I'm carrying the bill and going to talk about it, however. Section 2 expands the definitions, some of them including fiduciary and income interest and net income principal, what that means. It would add definitions of court, current income, beneficiary. What the overall purpose of the act does, as I get into the details, is it provides some uniformity with what's been working in other states, and to bring, like I said, updating the statute here in Kansas is almost 25 years old. So we want to create some more clarity for fiduciaries and when they act, and what their authority is, and what a beneficiary of a trust, what response they can expect from the fiduciary if the beneficiary deems that the fiduciary was abusing the fiduciary's discretion. The bill, though long, is pretty straightforward in what it does in each section. Some of them include, it states and clarifies that Kansas law shall apply if the principal place of administration of the trust or the estate or the site of the property that's in the trust is here in Kansas. This is where any court action should be. That makes sense. It adds a good faith requirement for fiduciaries who make decisions regarding unit trusts, and those unit trusts are defined in the bill as well. And it does a nice job of revising and expanding provisions, again, regarding a fiduciary's power to adjust and whether the fiduciary has the authority or discretion to do that. With that, then, I will stand for questions, Madam Chair.
Are there questions from the senator from Johnson, Senator Warren? Seeing none, you may close.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think this bill does a nice job of updating Kansas law in this area. And so with that, then, I move that when the committee rises and reports, it reports Senate Bill 107 favorably for passage.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. Motion carried. The chair recognizes the Assistant Majority Leader from Cali, Senator Alley.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. I move that the committee rise and report.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. Motion carried.
The clerk will read the committee report.
On motion of Senator Suellentrop, the Senate resolved itself into the Committee of the Whole for consideration of bills on the calendar under the heading of General Orders, with Senator Bowers in the chair. Senate Bill 52 and Senate Bill 85 be amended by the adoption of the committee report, and the bills be passed as amended. Senate Bill 60, Senate Bill 88, Senate Bill 103, Senate Bill 107 be passed.
The chair recognizes the senator from Cloud, Senator Bowers, to adopt the committee report.
I move we adopt the committee report.
You have heard the motion. All of those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. Motion carried. Consideration of appointments. The chair recognizes the Assistant Majority Leader from Cali, Senator Alley.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. In compliance with the Senate Rule 55, the appointment of Kevin Lockett on page 4 of the calendar is ready for consideration. Are there any questions? Seeing none, Mr. Majority Leader, I move the appointment.
We will hold for final action. We are now ready for final action. On this roll call, we will take the following two bills on the consent calendar: Senate Bill 67, Senate Bill 118, and the appointment on page 4, Kevin Lockett. The clerk will read the titles and the name.
University of Kansas Hospital Authority member Kevin Lockett. Senate Bill 67, an act concerning motor vehicles. Senate Bill 118, an act concerning municipalities.
The clerk will call the roll.
Alley. Baumgardner. Billinger. Bowers. Clays. Corson. Dietrich. Dahl. Erickson. Bagg. Fauskadeau. Francisco. Gossage. Haley. Hawk. Hildebrand. Holland. Holscher. Kirshen. Cluse. Longbine. Masterson. McGinn. Olson. O'Shea. Peck. Peterson. Petty. Pittman. Pyle. Steffen. Straub. Sullentrop. Sykes. Thompson. Tyson. Ware. Warren. Wilborn.
Has every senator had an opportunity to vote? Does any senator wish to change their vote? Does any senator wish to explain their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Excuse me.
Excuse me, Senator McGinn.
I'd just like to vote. How's that?
Thank you.
I vote aye.
Senator Schellen.
Thank you. I vote aye.
Are there any other change of votes or votes? Seeing none, the clerk will close the roll and tally the vote. "38 having voted in favor and 1 against Senate Bill 67. 38 having voted in favor and 1 against Senate Bill 118. And 39 have voted in favor of Kevin Lockett. These measures have received the required constitutional majority, hereby declared passed and confirmed. Introduction of bills and consent calendar resolutions. The clerk will read.
Senate Bill 261, by Committee on Ways and Means, an act concerning the Kansas Asbestos Control Program.
This constitutes the introduction of Senate Bill 261. Reports of the Standing Committee, the clerk.
Mr. President, the Committee on Judiciary recommends Senate Bill 204 be passed, and because the committee is of the opinion that the bill is of a non-controversial nature, be placed on the consent calendar. Senator Warren, chairperson. Senate Bill 8, Mr. President, the Committee on Judiciary recommends Senate Bill 8 be passed. Senator Warren, chairperson. Mr. President, the Committee on Transportation recommends Senate Bill 99 be passed, and because the committee is of the opinion that the bill is of a non-controversial nature, be placed on the consent calendar. Senator Peterson, chairperson. Mr. President, the Committee on Transportation recommends Senate Bill 95 be passed, and because the committee is of the opinion that the bill is of a non-controversial nature, be placed on the consent calendar. Senator Peterson, chairperson.
Are there announcements? Seeing none, the chair recognizes the majority leader from Cali, Senator Alley.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. I move the Senate adjourn until 2:30 p.m. on Thursday, February 18th, 2021.
You have all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. The Senate is adjourned.